Hey guys, welcome to Stuffbox. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to create an AWS instance, how to connect your instance using your web browser. I'll also show you how to stop and start your instance. If you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. I create tech tutorials every other week. Now let's begin. Let's log into AWS Management Console. If you have visited EC2 before, you probably see a link. If you don't, type in EC2 on the search. This gives us an overview of our resources. Currently, we have no running instances, which says 0. Click Running Instances so we can start creating an instance. So we don't have any running instances, so let's click Launch Instance. And this gives you all the AMI, which is the Amazon machine image that you can launch. This tutorial will focus on Amazon Linux 2 AMI, which is also free tier eligible. Click Select. Here it gives us the T2 Micro. You can downgrade it to T2 Nano or faster ones, but because we want to take advantage of free tier eligible, we're going to stick to the T2 Micro. Now we can finish this by clicking Review and Launch, but let's see what else is on the next page by clicking Next. This page shows us the instance details. The number of instance is 1. For purchasing option, we'll leave Spot Instance unchecked. Currently it's set to On Demand. You want to use Spot Instance if this will be a permanent server. It's cheaper than On Demand Instance. For network, we'll leave it as a default. You want to change this if you want to pick your own IP address and subnet. We're going to leave the subnet on the default, but if you want to pick your own availability zone, pick whichever one. With public IP, we'll leave it as the default as well. Most of these will leave it as default. For shutdown behavior, we'll leave it as stop. There's also an option to terminate. If you want to add a protection for accidental deletion, check this. Enable CloudWatch if you want detailed monitoring. Just to note, there are additional charges if you have higher metrics on your CloudWatch, so be careful if you just want to take advantage of free tier. For tenancy, we'll leave it as shared. You can also click dedicated and dedicated hosts. There are additional charges on that as well. T2, T3, we'll leave it unchecked. There are also additional charges if you want to enable this. For everything else, we'll leave it as default. We'll click Next, which is Add Storage. This gives us an overview of our storage, which is our hard disk. Currently set for 8 GB. You can set it to up to 30 GB if you just want to take advantage of free tier. For volume type, we'll leave it as general purpose, and we'll leave the encryption not encrypted. Click Next. For add tags, this is optional, but this is always helpful if you have multiple instances. So the main thing I always put is the name, and then a value, which will be my project name. You can add multiple instances like owner, date and time, version, whatever you want. Now let's configure security group by clicking Next. For security group, this is our firewall. This is where we can limit which IP can access our instance. As you can see, SSH is set to be accessible anywhere. It's bad practice to leave your SSH open. It's always good to pick my IP address or a specific IP address. This way, only your location can access your instance. If you pick My IP, it will automatically add your current public IP. And if you click anywhere, this gives us a big warning. If you have existing security group, pick Select an existing group. But since we don't have one yet, we'll create a new security group, which will save the security group configuration. I'll name this as my first security group. You can name this to something that makes sense to you. You can also add a description to whatever you want. You can also modify the security group later, which I'll show you in the later tutorials. For viewers that don't know, SSH is a secure way for us to transfer files to our instance as well as execute commands within our instance. Here's a diagram on how it looks like. If you want to add a description on this, you can do so. So I'm going to put one here, SSH for my first instance. And because our source still says anywhere, we still have this warning. We'll just leave it like that and let's click review and launch. Similar to the previous warning, a good practice is to not leave your SSH to be accessible anywhere. I strongly encourage you to go back and modify the security group if you have it as anywhere. Since I'm going to delete this instance after this tutorial, I'll leave it as is. Now to create the instance, click the launch button. A pop-up will appear and this is for our SSH keys. We can choose to create a new key pair or choose from an existing one, or we can choose not to have one as well. Generally, you want a new key pair for every instance. Now select create a new key pair. You can type in your key pair name. I'm going to put mine as my first key pair. And then download the key pair. It will then ask you to save that key pair. Click OK. Make sure you know where you put your private key file. Otherwise, you won't be able to connect to your instance. Now click Launch Instances. And now our instance is launching. Now scroll down and then you'll see View Instances. Click that. And now our instance is running. If you were able to create your instance, click the like button. Now the next thing we need to do is connect to our instance. So click on the connect button. Now we have multiple options to connect to our instance. If you have Windows, you can use PuTTY, or on a Mac, you can use your terminal. You can also use Session Manager, but that requires an SSM agent. The easiest way is to connect using EC2 Instance Connect. This will give us the username, which is EC2-user, and then simply click Connect button. And as simple as that, we're now connected. Now I want to show you how to connect to your instance using Terminal on a Mac. Launch Terminal and type in SSH. Copy the public IP and then type in the username, which is EC2-user, paste the public IP and then hit enter. This will give us a permission denied error. This is because we didn't include our SSH keys. This is why it's important that you know where you downloaded your SSH keys. So now type in SSH space -i and then drag the key pair from wherever you downloaded it and then type in EC2-user at the public IP and then hit enter. And that is it, we are logged in.
Yeah!
If you run into this error message when you try to log in, this is a normal warning that you are connecting to your public IP. Just ensure that that is the IP that you are connecting to. Type yes to continue. Another warning that you may encounter is unprotected private key file. This error means that our key pair can be accessed by everyone. In order to secure your key file, you need to execute the command chmod 0400, then the key pair file name. This command basically means that only the owner of the file can read this key file. Once logged in, we can do a few commands here like who am I, which tells us we're EC2-user. We can also ping a website, for example google.ca, and it gives us a response. To log out of the session, simply type exit and hit enter. Once you are done with your instance, I suggest you stop your instance. To do that, right click on your instance, click Instance State, and then select Stop. It will confirm, and then simply click Yes Stop. If you don't stop it, you'll get charged when that instance is running, even though there is no traffic that's accessing your instance. Keep in mind that if you stop an instance, the public IP will change. but you can use the same key file that you have downloaded. If you want to start that instance again, select your instance, click Action, and go to Instance State, and select Start. Starting it may take about a minute. And now that it has started, you can see that our public IP has changed. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you find this tutorial helpful. If you did, click the like button and subscribe. If you have questions, leave it in the comment below.